Hello there. Hello, everybody. We have several announcements, so I'm going to go ahead and make those announcements, and then we will introduce Ted Calori, who will be presenting the candidates for this forum. Thank you. Okay, we have a board meeting after the forum is over. I will need to have no cell phones present, so please, if you have a cell phone now, please turn it off. We only want questions from forum members, and I think that's all that I have for right now. So, with no further ado, I'd like to bring Ted up here and let him introduce our speakers for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Esther. First, I'm going to have a little icebreaker. If you'll indulge me. Give everybody a chance to get settled in and so forth. This is entitled Places I Have Been and Places I Have Not Been. I've been in many places, but I've never been incognito. I hear it, no one ever recognizes anybody there. I've never been in cahoots. Apparently you don't go along, you have to be in there with somebody. I would like to go to conclusions, but you have to jump, and I'm not much on physical activity anymore. I've been in doubts. That's a sad place to go. Sometimes I try not to visit there very often. I've been inflexible, but it's only important when you have to stand firm. Sometimes I'm incapable. I go there often, especially as I get older. Sometimes I think I'm invincible. My life then shows me that I'm really not. Thank you for indulging me in that. Let me give you a rough idea of how our format is going to work today. We're going to hear from both of the candidates some prepared remarks in the amount of about 12 minutes each. We do have a timer, so when we talk about the various times, I'll assure you that we will cut people off. So we're going to have 12 minutes by each candidate. Then we go into questions and answers, and we'll have pretty close to half an hour for that. One thing Esther didn't say is that we only take questions from members, but we encourage everybody who's here today to become a member, and you can do that on the way out. And then we'd like to have you come back. We meet here every Monday, and we have a whole variety of topics, and we will be getting into the political season with candidates for every office in Washington County and state and federal. So please sign up and become a member. You will receive notice of the programs and everything. So questions only by members. As she already said, please no speeches from the question side, only ask questions and keep them short so you can tell that they are questions. That gives them a chance to answer, and we're going to give them 2 minutes for each question. Doesn't matter who you direct your question to, because they both get a chance. And then at the end, when we have just a few minutes before 1 o'clock, when the TV goes off, then we'll ask them to both come up and spend 2 minutes in summarizing and giving final thoughts, and that'll be it for the day. So, by alphabetical order, I'd like to start by introducing Suzanne. The B was the decided factor there. Suzanne was born in Detroit. She was raised in a small town in Michigan. She moved in her high school years to the Eugene area. She got an AA from Lane Community College. Went on, took a degree in journalism at the University of Oregon. Stayed on even longer and got her law degree from University of Law School. She went back to DC and was a consumer protection attorney for the FTC. Then she came back here, went into private practice, then went into no practice and served as a mother and wife. Was active in schools and so forth. She'll tell you most of this stuff, but I'm just giving you the highlights. She was elected to the Oregon Legislative Assembly as state rep in 2006, senator 2008 to 2011. I'm proud to introduce Suzanne Cornilles.
Thank you so much for the kind introduction, Ted, and thank you so much to the Washington County Public Affairs Forum for giving us the opportunity to get to know you and for you to get to know the candidates in this important special election. So I'm Suzanne Cornilles, Forum member and candidate for the U.S. Congress. You know, it's no wonder that people in Oregon and across the country are frustrated with Congress right now. They see people out of work, struggling to get by, homes in foreclosure, and the economy fragile. And they look at too many members of Congress have the wrong priorities. Well, I'm running for Congress to help rebuild confidence in government and to help rebuild the economy with the right priorities. And to get to know me, so you know a little bit about me and my values and where I'm from, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about my background. Ted gave you an overview. So I was born in Michigan, but long before that, my grandparents came over to this country on a boat from Italy. They came through Ellis Island. My grandfather was a coal miner and then an auto factory worker who worked long, hard hours to bring opportunities to his family. They came over here to find the American dream where if you work hard and play by the rules, you can succeed. My dad, excuse me, worked for a local bank. Helping businesses get capital. And my mom, in addition to raising 3 children and teaching piano, ran a small business. My first job was there, working in her store, where I learned about the challenges and rewards of running a small business. And then, as Ted explained, I moved to Oregon and fell in love with the state. I ended up in Oregon in the summer during blackberry season. How could you not fall in love with the state of Oregon? I worked my way through Lane Community College, and law school, working at Legal Aid. Legal Aid is an office that serves low-income families who are struggling, and I learned a lot about helping people and how public policy impacts the lives of families. I learned that people were struggling not by choice, but because they lost a job, or had health care bills that they couldn't pay, or had lost a spouse. And I got interested in consumer protection working at Legal Aid, and my first job after law school, as Ted explained, was at the Federal Trade Commission in Washington, D.C., where I was working on consumer protection issues like truth in lending and equal credit opportunity. And as a young attorney, I took on some mortgage brokers who were defrauding people out of their homes. Now, I want to remind you, that was back in the 80s in the Reagan administration, and there I was, a young lawyer, but I stood up to those mortgage companies that were causing people to lose their homes, and they suffered the consequences after that lawsuit. I met my husband Michael in Washington, D.C., and more than 25 years ago we moved from Washington, D.C. to Washington County, where we've been ever since, because we wanted to raise a family in a place that has the quality of life of Oregon. I worked in a law firm in Portland for a couple of years, representing small business owners, and then took a career break where I raised my 2 wonderful children through the Beaverton schools, got very involved in the community. I was one of those stay-at-home moms who wasn't home very much because I was doing a lot of volunteer work. I served 2 terms on the Beaverton Education Foundation. I worked in the schools. I helped teach children from the whole Tri-County area about civics and government. And then after that career break, I served 3 terms in the Oregon legislature, 1 in the House and 2 in the Senate. I was appointed to the Senate after 1 term in the House, where I established myself as a leader, especially on consumer protection issues, education issues, and helping businesses get access to capital. I worked with our state economic development department to streamline the process for businesses to qualify for entrepreneurial loans and for business development loans. And in Congress, I'm going to focus on rebuilding the economy with both short-term and long-term solutions. I'm going to continue the work I started in the legislature, helping businesses get access to capital. I'll be working with the Credit Union Association, which has endorsed my candidacy, helping them raise their lending cap so that they can help their members who want to start or run small businesses. And I'll be working with the Small Business Administration, making sure that they are doing everything they can to help businesses thrive in Oregon. And I'll get people back to work on infrastructure projects. You know, we have more than 450 structurally deficient bridges in this state right now. Let's get people back to work repairing our roads, our bridges, and our electrical grid, which will support our renewable energy industry. I'll strengthen public education, pre-K through higher education, because I know, as you do, that a strong system of public education is critical to rebuilding our economy and for the quality of life in our communities. And as a graduate of a community college, I will work with community colleges, connecting them with the local businesses, so we know that the job training that we're doing is supporting our local businesses and economy. And with my background in consumer protection, I also know that we need to have strong and balanced consumer protection laws that not only prevent another financial crisis, but help restore consumer confidence in our financial markets. It's something we desperately need right now to help revitalize our economy. Now, there is no question that we need to start to tackle this debt and the deficit. You know, Congress needs to start doing its job, but we need to do that with the right priorities. Like stop giving big tax breaks to oil companies and others making record profits. Ending the Bush tax cuts for millionaires. We need to be investing in jobs, and job training, and education. We need to be protecting, not privatizing, Social Security and Medicare. Those are my priorities. You can trust who I am because I've had these same values and priorities throughout my life and throughout my career. You know, earlier I mentioned my Italian grandfather, the one who came over on the boat from Italy. And my other grandfather was a minister, and sometimes I feel like he's sitting on my shoulder. And I know that he would be proud not only that I'm running for Congress. In fact, I think he'd be surprised, but incredibly proud of that. But also he would be proud to know that I've been recognized for my integrity. You may know that the Willamette Week does an assessment of legislators. They print an assessment of legislators, but it's not their opinion. They survey people who work with legislators after every legislative session, and the legislators are always like kids getting their report card when that comes out to see how what their score was. And I'm proud that I received not only one of the highest overall scores, but I'm most proud of the score that I received for my integrity. And that is something we desperately need in Congress. Now, some of you might have seen yesterday, I received the endorsement of the Oregonian. And I believe that I earned that endorsement with my strong record in the legislature. I've also been endorsed, I mentioned, by the Northwest Credit Union Association, also by the Oregon Association of Realtors, by two former attorneys general, including former Attorney General Dave Frohnmeyer, former Attorney General Hardy Myers, and current Attorney General John Kroger. They know my legal background will be helpful working in the legislative branch of government, and I've worked with all of them, and they know my reputation, not only as a community member, but as a legislator. And finally, I've been endorsed by several of our district attorneys, including Washington's own district attorney, because they know my work in public safety and that I will be working to make sure that our communities are safe places to live. So I want to not use all my 12 minutes because I want to make sure that we have plenty of time to answer questions, because that's an important part of the discussion as well. So I'll close by saying thank you again to the Washington County Public Affairs Forum. It's a pleasure to be here today. I look forward to the discussion and hearing from you about what you care about and what you want to see in your next representative in Congress. Thank you very much.
Our next candidate is Rob Cornilles. He also comes from Washington County. He graduated from Newburgh High School. He went to Brigham Young University. After he graduated from there, he did some sports marketing in California, and then he came back to Oregon. He started his company called Game Face in 1996. You may recognize that he ran also in 2010 for the same seat. Please acknowledge Rob Cornilles.
Good afternoon. Once again, thank you for allowing us the opportunity to visit with you and to share our views and our differences today. As was mentioned by Ted, I'm a native of the 1st Congressional District. I was born in Multnomah County. I was raised in Washington County, and then when I returned high school age, we moved to Yamhill County, where I graduated from Newburgh High School. It's there that I met my wife, Allison, and we have been married over 25 years. We have 3 sons, 2 in college, 1 still in high school. All of our boys have gone through the public school system in the Tiger 12 School District. And actually in 1995 is when we started our business out of a spare bedroom in our home, a company called Game Face. Over that time, we've been able to employ 60 individuals, 60 Oregonians, and give them an opportunity for prosperity and for perhaps a better future. We've been very proud of what we've been able to do with our employees as a team, and what we've been able to accomplish for the people who have entrusted their resources and their time and their trust with us. I've also been very grateful that through the work that we do in our company, we've been able to assist people who are out of work or people who are looking for better opportunities. And these are job seekers who have come all the way to Tualatin, Oregon, all over the country, in fact, some even internationally. And they've wanted us to train them in the skills that were necessary to work in their chosen field. We've been able to do that, and as a result, more than 500 job seekers have successfully been placed into full-time careers through the services we provide. It starts with our training. And I'm running for Congress because today the issue that affects all of us, even though you may be employed, is the fact that too many Oregonians are either out of work or don't have enough work to support themselves, their family, to pay for their college education, to pay for their retirement. And this deeply troubles me, because as one who grew up here, as I mentioned, I remember the good days in Oregon when we were not above the national average in unemployment, as we have been for the last 15 years. I remember the days of Oregon when we didn't have people who were severely concerned about being able to pay a mortgage. We didn't see the foreclosures we have in the last several years. I remember in Oregon when homelessness was not the concern it is today, when our children could actually go to school having a full stomach. But now, of course, we're #1 in the country in child food insecurity. I remember the day when Oregon was not known for child trafficking as it is now. This is a sobering reality, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm running for Congress, though I never had the aspiration or the ambition to be in public office, because I do believe that we need greater leadership. And speaking of leadership, you're going to hear today from both of us varying opinions on policy. On some issues we'll agree. On most issues you might believe that we'll probably disagree. But beyond policy, which is obviously important when you're electing an official, someone who's going to go back and be a part of 435. Beyond policy, I think what Oregon is craving right now is leadership. Balanced leadership. People who have actually done the very thing that we need in this state, and that is meet a payroll. My wife and I have been able to do that for 195 straight months. My wife and I know what it's like to actually bring someone into the fold of our business, the sacrifices it takes to do such a thing, not only for us, but for them as well. And I would add, we know a little bit about those end-of-the-month paychecks. When times are tough, as a business owner, you take that last paycheck from the stack, and it has your name on it, and you quietly slip it into your desk drawer, knowing it would be irresponsible to pay yourself in these particular times. Those are the kinds of sacrifices that I've learned in the private sector. And quite frankly, I think those who are serving in public office, especially those who aspire to it throughout their careers, just don't have that perspective and paradigm. And that's why we do have a broken Congress today. Because we have too many people back there who simply feel that they have the incumbency and protection program worked into the system. They've made friends with high-powered lawyers and lobbyists, and they know that their future is certain as a result. Meanwhile, while they refuse to cooperate and find common ground, we back in Oregon are suffering, not to mention people all over the country. How do we reverse this trend? Well, not only will I demonstrate, as I have throughout this campaign, a willingness and an eagerness to show bipartisanship, to work with anyone who has a reasonable idea. But I also will focus on job creation so that we not only keep people in jobs and put people in jobs, but so that we as a government have the resources to fund the vital services you all depend on. How do you do this specifically? 3 things I've laid out that I would encourage you, after today's forum, to visit cornillesforcongress.com. You'll find a lot more detail than 2-minute answers will allow me to give. But the first thing that I've suggested is that we have to, in this country, do what was done in 1997, do what was done in 1986 in a bipartisan fashion. We need to fix, and that means simplify, make more fair and more predictable our tax code. Right now it is full of a maze of loopholes that are written by lawyers and lobbyists and only understood by those who can afford them, which means the mega corporations and the mega rich. Meanwhile, we in the middle class, we suffer. We end up paying the bill. I find this very un-American. And I think this is the reason why we see stagnation, not only in jobs, but in income, especially in the state of Oregon. So I am going to fight to make sure that we eliminate most of these corporate loopholes that are doing no one good but the mega corporations. There's no reason why they should be benefiting, in fact, profiting from the tax code as they are. At the same time, we need to lower rates across the board for all Americans so that more money is left in your pocket to do what you do best. That is invest. That is pay for your kids' education or grandkids' education. That is to pay off your mortgage if you can. That is to put money back into the economy. Show a demand for products and services that will lead to job growth, hiring again, more manufacturing, especially in our state. The second thing that we must do if we're serious about fixing this economy together is we have to recognize that in the 1st Congressional District, we have some fantastic assets that many of our current elected officials don't understand because they're not championing for these assets all around the world. I will. As one who lived in Japan for 2.5 years in my early career, as one who used to speak fluent Japanese and will be eager to relearn it as I go visit the Japanese people and try to bring business back to Oregon, try to encourage them to buy our products, not to mention other